Someone posted these two pictures together the other day, and I thought it apropos. U.S. homelessness rose by a record 18% in 2024, and the wealth of the world's 5 richest men more than doubled since 2020. There's a war being waged against Americans, and I'm very serious about that. I wrote a book called Wall Street's War in America and its attack on affordable housing. There's 2 justice systems, different legal systems in this country. One for the billionaire class. They can kill millions of people, and they are not held accountable as long as they're making billions of dollars and sharing those billions with the United States Congress. Now understand that. Let that sink in, because I'm not making this up. You can steal billions and kill millions of Americans, and no charges will be brought against you as long as you are sharing it with the United States Congress. 2 days ago, the news came out that homelessness in the United States increased by 18%. And that's increasing because millions and millions and millions of homes have been bought up, and they're being bought up more and more every day in secret by companies like BlackRock, Blackstone. There's another one which on their website, they say they are the largest owner of single family homes and rental properties in the world. It's called Greystar. They're headquartered in South Carolina. And I became aware of them because there's people here that they are evicting. They're charging them fees illegally in secret, and then they're evicting them. So you've got homelessness going up by 18%, 20%. That's huge in 1 year. The rental rates go up on these houses, but did the people, the renters living in them, did they get a $300 raise at their jobs? No, they didn't. And they're being evicted. And people act like, well, they can't pay their rent. They've raised rent so high that people cannot afford to pay them. The average 2-bedroom apartment in Las Vegas is $1,600. 6-7 years ago, it was $800, $900. It's doubled, but people's wages haven't doubled, they've gone down. The other day, in the past 6 quarters, Dollar Tree and Dollar General, the thrift stores, their profits have declined every quarter because the people that shop there don't have any money. There is a war being waged. There are new homes being built, but they're all being built to rent. They're being rented. If you take away a person's ability to buy property and own property, you are taking away their freedom. You are making them economic slaves. This country was founded by our founding fathers. We all know who they were. I want to talk a little bit about who Benjamin Franklin was. Benjamin Franklin, when he was 21, he made his famous 13 moral virtues. And I'm going to read a few of them. Temperance was one. He said, eat not to dullness, drink not to elevation. Frugality, make no expense, but to do good to others or yourself, waste nothing. Industry, lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary actions. Humility, imitate Jesus and Socrates. This man woke up every morning at 5 o'clock and he prayed to what he called powerful goodness. And he asked each morning the same question: what good can I do this day? I'm just talking about the type of man that wrote the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence, and founded this country. They fought a war against a king that if you disagreed with the king, he'd cut your head off, stick it on a stake, or like he did to William Wallace in the movie Braveheart, he drew and quartered him. He gutted and quartered him, cut his head off, stuck his head on a stake, then paraded the 4 different parts of his body around England to frighten people, to terrorize people, so they would think, if you disagree with the king, this is what will happen to you. And that's the kind of individual that our forefathers fought against to give us the freedoms we have in this country. Just tyrants that liked money and power more than people. But Benjamin Franklin, every morning he asked, what good can I do this day? At night, he'd go to bed. And every day planner you've ever seen, he wrote an autobiography that if you've never read it, I tell you, read it. It's a great book. But every day planner you've ever seen came from his autobiography. He was a printer, so he printed all of these things. And the other thing he did is that at the age of 21, he started a group, a self-improvement group called the Junto. And it was 12 people that he liked, bright people, professionals that wanted to improve themselves as people, to become more moral. And they talked about the community. What can we do to make ourselves better and the community better? They met every Friday night and talked about those things. All of the economic clubs that are in different parts of the country started from his junto. And when they started the meetings, Franklin devised some questions that they read every night before the meetings. And here are some of the questions. He said, do you know of anyone in need of our help, material or moral? And how could we assist? So they're looking, is there anyone in need in our community? Materially, they need help, or morally? And how can we help? Have you done or observed anything in the past week that would improve public or private behavior? What new facts have you learned this week that might benefit the group? Have you met anyone this week who might become a useful acquaintance to the group? What have you done this week to advance your own self-improvement or to help others? They're trying to make their community a better place. They, as young men, are trying to become better. He loved the teachings of Socrates and Jesus. Franklin was a voracious reader. He only went to school until he was 10 years old. But he self-taught him from reading everything else he knew. From that group, the Junto, the ideas that they had, the first public lending library, because books were expensive. So they pooled their money and they started the first lending library. They bought books so the poorer members of their community could come and borrow those books and educate themselves. The first paid police force, those guys came up with the idea. They pooled it together because everybody needed a police force to watch out at night, and they paid them. And the wealthier members of the community were happy to pay more because they knew that they wouldn't be as fortunate as they were financially if it wasn't for the other members of the community buying their goods and services. They advocated for the printing of paper money. And Franklin was a printer. He got to print most of that money, so he benefited from it. But printing paper money really increased trade and commerce. It helped immensely the economy to grow. The first public university in history was the University of Pennsylvania, started and funded by them, spread it the entire world. The first volunteer fire department was their idea and started by them. They were the first people to pave roads and have them higher in the center so the water would run off and put gutters in. It removed standing water. So it had greatly increased the sanitation of cities. They were the first garbage pickup service. Again, taxed by the community, pooled, and it increased sanitation tremendously. All of those things and many, many more came out of the junto meeting Friday nights. How can we be of service? How can we help our community and ourselves to make a better community for everyone? Those are the types of men that started the United States of America. That was their sole focus. What good can we do today for ourselves and our community, other members of the community? I want to put a question out to you. What do you think the boards of United Healthcare and the other health insurance companies talk about in their meetings? Do you think it's what we can do for our community? How can we take care of our clients? No, they don't care. Millions and millions of people die. They're just sticking hundreds of millions of dollars in their pockets every year. Wall Street has come up with this just Ponzi scheme that they've done it with every large company in the United States. They get them to borrow billions and billions of dollars from Wall Street and pay them interest to do it. And then as the largest shareholders, the big funds, Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, they own 89% of the Standard & Poor's 500 and the Dow and the big companies on NASDAQ. As the largest shareholders, they allow the CEOs, the C-suites, the boards of directors to take tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars out of those companies a year. They're looting the companies, but they allow them to do it because they're using those billions of dollars to buy their own stock back, which pushes the price up, which benefits the shareholders who are these big funds, the Wall Street banks who loan them the money. So it's a Ponzi scheme. That's why we have the Dow at 44,000. It's a big game. And then they just fleece the American people. Our country has become a country of oligarchs again. It isn't maybe becoming, it has become that. And they kill millions of people by denying and not providing health insurance. That we should not have private health insurance. We should pool our money together and provide insurance for everyone. And for anybody that says that the U.S. government doesn't do anything well, that's a complete and total lie. Don't believe it. The U.S. Post Office has delivered mail to everybody in Alaska in the middle of the snowstorms. To everyone. They get their mail every day. They do a marvelous job. We have the best military in the world. Anybody that tells you that the government can't do anything is lying to you. They want to find another reason to steal from you and privatize. Don't believe them. This country is being destroyed right in front of our eyes. Behind our backs, they are buying up all of the real estate. They've bought up so much, they now have doubled the prices and the rents. So working people can't afford them. And because of Wall Street's mantra, which is complete insanity, every quarter's got to be more profitable than the last. That's not possible, but that's their mantra. So every quarter they raise rents. And they only raise the rent once a year, but they own so many houses, they do different sections, different regions. They'll raise the rent at a different time of the year, so every quarter appears to be better. They don't care that homelessness has gone up 18%. It is all because of them. They try to say it's drug addiction and all the other stuff. It isn't. The people become drug addicts after they're homeless because they get so depressed. They can't pay the rent. And I'm telling Americans, if we don't wake up, if you agree with what I'm saying, okay, click subscribe on whatever this is. Share this video with your friends. Because if this isn't stopped, I promise you, one of these days we're going to wake up, okay, and it's going to be over. Because we all saw the illegal facial recognition software that they used to catch Luigi Mangione. Okay, that's illegal, but they're using it everywhere. I went into Kroger's. One last thing, and I'll let this be enough. Kroger's, there's a company that I mention it here, okay? It's Line, L-I-N-E on NASDAQ. They now control in Europe, America, and Australia all of the refrigerated food, one company. And the only person that was going after these monopolies, protecting Americans, was Lena Khan, and Trump has fired her from the FTC. She brought a $48 million fine against Invitation Homes because they were stealing and keeping people's deposits, renters' deposits, illegally. And she hammered them for $48 million. Inspiration Homes is funded by Blackstone. They were the first company out here in Las Vegas that bought the houses en masse after Wall Street destroyed the world's economies with the housing crisis. But Lena Khan is now not going after anyone. So Kroger's, the other day I went in, and if you'll go into Kroger's, that's Smith's, Lena Khan is the one that sued them to stop the Albertsons and the Kroger merger. Then there would have been no competition. I like a cheese called El Mexicano. It's Oaxacan cheese. It's a string cheese. And they're doing this to everything. Anything that sells well, they're making their product and then lowering the price. There was one thing of cheese left from El Mexicano, and then Kroger is now making smaller. The El Mexicano is 10 ounces. The Kroger cheese is 8 ounces, smaller ball, but 10 cents less, so you buy it. They'll make the ketchup. They'll drop that $1 from Heinz or Hunt. They are putting every other company out of business by undercutting them and making their own products. Now, that's because it's monopoly, and nobody's stopping them from doing it. Think what's going to happen. These people don't care if 18% homelessness is increased. They don't care if you die. They're killing millions of people by not giving them health care. They don't care if you die. They are killing you. The Sackler family killed over 1 million people with Oxycontin. Not one of them went to jail, thanks to Rudy Giuliani. I'm not making this stuff up. Big Food has been putting poison in our food. It makes us sick. Big Pharma supplies medicine, outrageously priced, so they can steal money from us. Versus men like Benjamin Franklin, who woke up every morning and said, what good can I do this day? How can I make my community better? Because he loved people. We now live in a country that's run by a bunch of drunken oligarchs that love money and power far more than they love you or your children. They are buying up all the homes. Once they own all the homes, and they're almost there, they're lying about how many homes they own. You go on, I saw an ad the other day on Nextdoor, the software, which is where I saw Graystar, because this girl was getting evicted that lives in the neighborhood. And they were charging her illegal fees, but the judges weren't doing anything to stop them. And that's where I found out about it. But once they own all the homes, you just lost your democracy, because your right to freedom is gone, because you are now an economic slave to the people who own the housing. Americans need to wake up. The problem is that we've got a 2-week attention span, and they use TikTok and Instagram and Facebook to constantly, they're distracting you. And Luigi, they caught him and now he's in jail, so you don't hear anything about him because they want you to forget about him. I am not exaggerating. I am not kidding. There is a war being fought against Americans, against working people in Europe, Australia, the US. They always want to take the guns away, because America is the only place that has millions and millions, tens of millions of citizens that own firearms. The only reason the Second Amendment was ever written was so Americans could protect themselves against a tyrannical government. It wasn't to go deer hunting. This stuff is serious. It is serious. And if you don't pay attention to it, and you don't talk to your neighbors, and you don't start calling your elected representatives 5 times a day and demanding, and I mean demanding, that they get rid of the oligarchs and their ownership, that they stop and make it illegal for Wall Street funds to own single-family homes, that we go to universal health care to stop these people that are running United Healthcare and CVS and Aetna. They're just stealing billions and billions of dollars. There is no reason to have private health care. It should be universal, managed by a group of the taxpayers. Do it. The government should be running it. The government does a great job when they're told what to do and how to do it. And there should be no one between a doctor and his patient making a decision about who gets care and who doesn't. If you hear this, share it with your friends. Repost these things that I'm saying, because it is getting so close. They're silently buying up homes, millions of them, and the ones they're building to rent, and they just keep jacking the prices up. They're manipulating the prices because they own so many of them now, they can take it up wherever they want. And then people aren't selling them because they see they keep going up. But the other thing they're doing, property taxes are going up so high, they're just stealing more and more from people. Seniors on fixed incomes can't afford the property taxes. Americans need to wake up. We need to get rid of Congress and the people in Congress. They are part of this criminal organization running everything. Quit looking at it, Democrat, Republican, and fighting amongst one another. There are only less than 1,000 people, even counting Congress, that are doing all of this. There's 350 million Americans. Talk to your neighbors. Organize. Talk to your friends. I know this sounds like I'm hawking this book. This book explains how they're doing it, so you understand how they manipulate the housing prices. How they manipulated stocks in the 1920s is the same way they've manipulated the housing prices. There is a war being waged against you. In this war, millions and millions of Americans are being killed or put out on the street. You put them out on the street, they can't fight. They don't have the means to fight. Please share this with your friends and neighbors and family. Don't forget about it. Go on a vacation and get drunk on your success. I'm glad that you're successful. Our kids and our grandkids, they can't afford anything. Car payments are $395. Rent's $1,500. They can't afford a house. It's on purpose. This is being manipulated to get control of people. Have a good weekend.